What's up, guys? It's Dr. DeMaio back in my Iron House here in Southwest Florida, my home gym. Usual caveat, if you have a problem in real life, come see a doctor in real life. Don't take advice from people on the internet. Even better, if you're in Southwest Florida, come see us at Family Foot and Leg Center, where I work in downtown Naples. We have offices all throughout Southwest Florida, all the way up to Port Charlotte, Sarasota area. Today I'm going to be talking about my arch rival, which is equinus. Equinus is a fancy word that means your ankle is not bending enough. It's a little bit too stiff. There's a lot of different causes for that. Most commonly is just muscular equinus. You can also have osseous equinus. You can have spasticity. Again, these are reasons why you should go see a doctor in real life. The vast majority of people are just going to have muscular equinus, which is very common. And what that means is when you're walking, you're unable to bend your shin bone or your tibia forward past 10 degrees, which is generally the amount you need to walk without compensation. So if you're unable to attain that position with your foot flat without compensation, then you have equinus. It's very common. About 70% of people have it based on some studies, and it's correlated with a lot of foot problems. Plantar fasciitis being the most common, about 85% of those can be contributed to by equinus. Equinus is what I like to tell people is like smoking for your feet. If you have equinus, it makes you a lot more likely to have a bunch of other different problems that are all not fun and that you don't want. The list is so long, I actually wrote some of them down because it's almost impossible to memorize them all. If you have equinus, you're at a significantly increased risk for plantar fasciitis, Achilles tendonitis, peroneal tendonitis, posterior tibial tendonitis, anterior tibial tendonitis, neuroma, bunions, flat feet, falls, muscle strains and sprains, MTP synovitis, hammer toes, claw toes, bunions, pediatric flat feet, plantar callus, chronic ankle instability, imbalance, pediatric flat foot, lateral foot pain, medial foot pain, stress fractures, shin splints, low back pain, ankle sprains, ankle arthrosis, subtalar joint arthrosis, compartment syndrome, forefoot nerve entrapment, and the list goes on and on. So again, a bunch of really terrible stuff that you don't want. And most of the time, equinus is treatable and preventable. It's like brushing your teeth. If you spend about 1 minute a day working on it, you're very unlikely to have it, and you're very unlikely to have any of those problems. So again, getting that ankle to be able to bend forward to about 10 degrees is super, super important. If you can't do that, it changes the way your foot moves entirely. So even just in standing, our center of gravity is normally about here. So just anterior to the ankle joint is where your center of gravity normally is. For a person with significant equinus, that center of gravity kind of navigates all the way down to here, in between the second and third toe, which is a primary area that you can get neuromas, metatarsalgia, stress fractures here, and that starts giving you a whole bunch of other problems. Also, it shifts your weight forward a little bit, if you can imagine that. So now you're loading your forefoot a little differently, and you're changing the way your foot moves entirely. So instead of walking and bending here and then rolling off the toes normally, you're going to do this. So I always kind of demonstrate this with my patients. I say, this is your foot with equinus. It's not great. You don't want it. It's no fun. Again, it's like the smoking of your feet. So treating equinus is pretty easy, particularly if you don't have any problems currently. Again, you spend a minute or two per day stretching your ankle and maintaining that range of motion. You're less likely to lose it as time goes on. You're less likely to have falls, imbalance, ankle sprains, all that long laundry list of things we went over here. It's super important. But even if you don't want to have any of those problems, or you don't think that that's that important and you're just worried about your function right now, having equinus also will overload your posterior tibial tendon, which over time is super bad. That can kind of lead you to having a flat foot and a lot of problems with your balance as you walk. Also, when that center of gravity shifts forward, it dampens the activity of one of your lateral ankle stabilizers, one of your peroneal tendons, and makes it less likely to do its job and less able to do its job, which again makes you more likely to roll your ankle this way, makes you have less power and less reactive balance during your ADLs. So super important. Treating equinus, very easy. We're going to talk about that. Easiest thing you could do, get a slant board. Stand on there 1 minute a day, 2 minutes a day. Super easy. I do it every day at work before I start my work day, and I have almost all of my patients doing that, and they're usually amazed how much better they feel. Equinus is super bad for everyone. It's my arch rival. I'm determined to eliminate equinus, and again, I tell everyone, if everyone just stood on the slant board for 1 minute a day, I would probably not have any patients, which would be bad. So contribute to my early retirement by fighting your equinus. I'm going to show you a couple of ways that we can stretch that and maintain that range of motion or reattain that range of motion that you need. Okay, so going back to what we spoke about, plantar fasciitis, typically heel pain on the bottom of your foot right here. And one of the reasons why we have to treat that equinus, meaning the ability for your ankle to bend forward when you walk, if you don't have enough of that bend here when you walk, approximately 10 to 15 degrees, I like to get closer to 15, when you hit that heel to the ground and your body weight is progressing forward, if you can't bend here, what ends up happening is you end up bending here. You're increasing that distance from where the plantar fascia attaches or it originates rather right here, and it attaches up here. So you're increasing that distance. You're flexing here rather than here when you walk, which is why you throw an over-the-counter orthotic in there or throw a more rigid shoe under there. You're going to limit that pulling here and encourage you to bend here and less likely to increase the strain on that. When you don't have that 10 degrees of flexion there, you're actually doubling the amount of strain on there. So if you can imagine body weight times gravity times how many steps per day you're taking or how long you're on your foot per day, that's a significant amount of force. And then if you don't have this much bend that you need, you're doubling that amount of force. So you can see how this problem can begin and then how it can persist kind of indefinitely until you intervene and can resolve that issue mechanically. So a couple little tricks. The over-the-counter orthotic. This is actually my wife's shoe. She actually wears these orthotics. I replace them every year at Christmas. So the one thing you're looking for when you buy an over-the-counter orthotic, you don't want it to bend in the middle, right? We're going to talk about that more with the shoes, but you don't want it to bend in the middle like we talked about in the foot. You want it to bend up here by the toes, but not too much in the middle to restrict that midfoot motion and then discourage or take away some of the strain off of that heel bone. Another thing we've talked about is getting rid of the equinus. The two easiest ways to get rid of the equinus, obviously stretching the ankle, that's where everyone messes up. They mess up a little bit with the parameters and the performance. The most simple way to do it is to use a slant board. Brian got me. The easiest way to do it is to use a slant board, which is something like this. I'll link in the description as well. All you need to do is get your toes pointed forward. Primarily, you want your third toe pointing straight in the same direction as your nose. You want to step up on there with both feet. Keep your knees nice and straight, hip in, and then if you need to, lean forward a little bit. All you're trying to do is get your tibia, your shin bone, to move forward over a flat or fixed foot in this case. Once you do that, you want to lean forward until you feel a slight stretch in the back of the calf. You want to hold that for 1 minute. Make sure you use a timer. The four main parameters for any sort of stretching like this, you need your heel down, you need your knee straight, you need your toes straight, that third toe pointed in the same direction as your nose, and you need to use a timer and hold for at least 1 minute. If you get those four parameters correct, you do this 3 to 5 times a day, you'll get rid of that equinus pretty quickly. If you don't have a slant board, get one, number one. That would be a wise investment. The second way you can do it while you're waiting for your slant board to hopefully come is the simple runner stretch that everyone knows. But again, they mess up the parameters. The devil is always in the details. Every patient that comes and sees me with this problem generally says, oh yeah, I do that stretch. I know how to do it. I do it all the time. And they're always doing it wrong or they're not doing it for the correct amount of time. So same concept. You need to put your involved foot, the one that hurts, back behind you. You need to have your third toe straight towards the wall. You need to keep your heel on the ground, your foot flat. Foot flat, heel down, knee straight, toes straight. Lean forward until you feel a little pull in that calf and hold that position there for 1 minute. If you do that, or you do the slant board 3 to 6 times per day, most likely you're going to get rid of that equinus. You're going to be on the way to getting rid of this problem. In the meantime, throw an over-the-counter orthotic in your shoe, switch to a more supportive shoe, decrease the demand on your foot. You're on your way. Again, if you have a real problem, come see us in real life in Southwest Florida at Family Foot and Leg Center. If not, reach out to me in the comments. Thank you.